Welcome to another edition of the OSINT podcast, or the OSINT Curious Project. My name is Michael James, or Ginsburg 5150. Joined with me is a couple of other co-hosts as well. You guys want to introduce yourselves?
Hi, Nico here. That's OSINT guy.
Hi, Sector 035.
Yeah, Sector. And our special guest, Brenna Smith.
Hi, I'm Brenna.
We have some other people out. Kirby is also here, but she's not going to go through and talk. She's in the comments. So if you have any questions, direct them to Kirby. She'll be the comment and the question wrangler for this episode. So, well, thank you very much for joining us, Brenna. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, kind of how you got into open source intelligence, where you came from. I'm super interested to talk to you about Berkeley and things like that, which is where you kind of came from. Is that right? The human rights stuff. So yeah, give us a little bit about your background stuff.
Okay, cool. So I went to UC Berkeley, and for any international people, it's just a university in California. And okay, so it's kind of circuitous. I didn't really get into any sort of OSINT thing until like a year and a half ago, about. I had an internship in Washington, D.C., where I was working at a national security think tank under a guy named Yahya Fanuzi, who you guys should follow him on Twitter. He's great. He's at SignCurve. And he's an ex-CIA analyst, super smart guy. And he specializes in like illicit finance and like how like terrorist financing and stuff like that. That was his job when he was in the CIA. And so as his intern, his research started going into crypto, and I had like wiggled my way into this. I was a social work major, so I literally nothing international relations related. Like I had kind of no business being in this internship, but a friend of mine had it before, and I had met Yahya through that, so he kind of was willing to take a chance on me, which was really nice and gave me my career. He was really into cryptocurrencies, and that was what his research was on. And I came into that internship knowing nothing, and very I would say I'm a curious person, and like somebody who enjoys learning new things. But genuinely, why I got so into crypto was out of this necessity to like not get fired or like not be kind of like found out that I didn't know anything. Which ended up kind of being the best education. I've learned that with the topic like crypto, where it's just a completely different way of thinking, and it's so complex and there's a lot of nuance to it, that the best thing to do is just read. Like read everything you can, read everything, try stuff out, like see, go on Blockchain Explorer, see what you can do to just, I don't know, get familiar with it. So I did that, and then I came back to school after that internship, and I discovered that there was a center on my campus that did open source research like I was doing over summer, and that was so great. And so I applied and luckily got in, and then through that was doing research with them, which wasn't crypto research. Actually, I was doing disinformation monitoring, which it's called the UC Berkeley Human Rights Investigations Lab. Some people have heard of it. It's awesome. Like some of the best OSINT researchers are coming out of there. Like they're
they just came out with a book too. Was it Digital Wellness? That signing party and all that stuff. There's some amazing people out of there too. So yeah, I was super interested because I've talked to Kevin Reeves a couple times on Twitter, and I don't know if he heads it or if he's just kind of the speaker for the group there.
I think he's associated with the book, but it's Alexa Koenig and Andrea Lampros who head it and run it.
Nice.
Alexa and Lindsay, that's the persons who I know. They are great. They're awesome.
Oh, yes, and Lindsay.
People.
Sorry, I totally forgot Lindsay. No, it's great. But so they're also very well connected in the space, and it was my senior year, and I had all this like weird crypto knowledge, and I didn't know what to do for a job. So I was trying to work at a bank, and I was not getting hired because I am a social work major who and I don't have a master's degree. So I would go to these like job interviews and stuff like that, and they'd be like, yeah, like you're probably no more than most of our analysts and could do this work, but like you're like an HR hazard. Like we just can't get you through.
Yeah, the HR filters. Okay. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yep.
So I was like, what am I supposed to do with this skill set now? Okay, like I want to do this more, but I don't know what to do. And so through the Human Rights Center, Eric Toller from Bellingcat was in town doing a training in Berkeley, and he used to work at a bank. So somebody was like, oh, you should go talk to him. He might be able to help you. And then I went and talked to him, and he was immediately kind of like, yeah, I have no idea what I would do for you. Like, like that sounds really rough, but tell me more about this crypto stuff. And then I did, and he kind of was like, would you ever want to write something for us? Which like floored me. Like I, never thought Bellingcat would because in the Human Rights Center in Berkeley, like they're idolized. It's like Bellingcat is like the New York Times to us. Like it's, we love their work, and like, Christian and Eric are like superstars to us. Yeah. So I was so excited. And so then February of last year, I wrote my first article for it, and it kind of took off from there. It was really surprising because I thought that a lot of people in the OSINT space and crypto space were the same people. And I've learned that there's definitely like a Venn diagram crossover of people, but that's not true. Like there's a lot of people who don't know about either industry that much. And so there was actually like a big appetite for Bellingcat readers on wanting to learn more about the topic, which was really great because I was nervous when I first wrote my article that it was just going to be like preaching to the choir, like everybody knew how to do this. So
wasn't that the first article about the jihadi stuff?
No, the first article was actually the Mueller indictment.
Oh yeah.
And then, but the second one was about jihadi campaigns. And then basically after that, I was, getting a lot of questions. Like the OSINT community on Twitter was incredible and like really supportive and wanted more. But, I just started a full-time job. I read about this stuff all the time, but taking the time to do like a full-length investigation, it takes a lot of time. And it's something that I definitely come across, but it's not, I felt like there was more that I could do to satisfy people that was kind of like an in-between of like education and kind of like showing like the news or like investigative stuff. So Eric and Elliot at Bellingcat let me start a weekly newsletter about cryptocurrencies and kind of the intersection with that and open source investigations. And so far it's been really great. It's mainly like a news aggregator and digest, and then kind of my ramblings about what I think is going on in the space. And, I do some mini investigations into debunking news and stuff that is circling around in the crypto space. But it's been going great so far. It's honestly been such a pleasure to interact with so many of the Bellingcat readers and have people like email and ask me questions and want certain topics covered in the newsletter. Like I'm always so grateful that there's such an interest in what's going on. Yeah. Sorry, long-winded answer. But
you're good. So how many times do you get hit up for crypto advice, whatever, like where the top is for Bitcoin and all that?
Like every week about which is cool because sometimes I get paid. Like sometimes people are like, oh, we'll like hire you for like a week to like, help us with this or give us a training. Which is really great.
So in retrospect, you said you initially didn't maybe even have an ambition in open source intelligence or even in cryptocurrencies, and you accidentally roll into it. In retrospect, if you would have needed to do the same thing and get to the point where you are now, what would you have done different? Because you said it's a total different landscape, the cryptocurrency landscape, than any other thing. Any for pointers for people wanting to start in this field?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Start a Twitter account, first off. The OSINT community kind of lives on Twitter, and you can learn so much and see that stuff. The next thing I would do, and the biggest thing that I think gave me legitimacy, was publishing my work, like working hard to like put together a coherent piece, whether it's, a resource guide, like a tutorial guide versus like an actual like in-depth investigation. Like either or both really helps get you connected to the space. But I think that like if I were to start now and like I knew nothing about cryptocurrency and I needed to start learning, there's a lot, even just in the last year and a half, there are a lot more great resources out there than when I started. So there's like so many online resources just to explain the topic to. So Decrypt Media has a lot of really great explainers. CoinDesk does as well, Coin Center. Yeah. So really exhaust those just for the basics of what building like a good foundation of understanding the technology. And then after that, to like bridge it with OSINT, I would really just, I was lucky enough that I had the Human Rights Center at Berkeley to like give real people like and have projects that I could be doing. Oh, sorry, voice crack. But if I didn't have that, I would utilize Twitter. I mean, the best thing about this community is that like I feel like everybody's so nice and they're willing to talk to you and willing to help you. And so it's the type of thing where you could just reach out to like a Bellingcat or an OSINT Curious and be like, I know a bit about this area. I'm really interested in helping you guys out with it. Let me know if you need anything. Like, I think offering to help before asking for something is always a great way to get into the community. So like, I think that, and it's also a great way to just like meet people and learn new things.
It's true.
The other thing too that I'm working on now, but that I wish I did then, was getting some sort of basic coding background. Because I think that there are a lot of great ways and there are a lot of great open source tools like on GitHub and stuff that you could use to kind of streamline your blockchain investigations that I am starting to use now, but wasn't at the beginning because I didn't know how to do it. And I think that is super useful as well.
There's a large barrier of entry for coding and things like that. However, some people think it's this monumental thing, and it is to an extent. And I'm kind of slowly climbing that hill and using GitHub tools and command line interface and all that stuff. So I completely understand on that side. However, and cryptocurrencies, it's a huge, or crypto, I guess cryptocurrencies. The entire structure is just kind of crazy, and it's a huge task to kind of take on, because I guess a couple of years ago with Bitcoin getting as high as $20,000, and then all these other projects doing ICOs and stuff like that, however, so initial coin offerings and trying to solve the world's problem through decentralized means and all this stuff, however, there were some physical things that tied to cryptocurrencies and things like that, which made it interesting, but then there were also a bunch of scams, and there were a bunch of other things that really hurt people. So it was very overwhelming to go through and get into the crypto space. And I did the same thing. I didn't do any investigations and stuff, but my interest was piqued by the technology and just this kind of emerging technology stuff. And so I did the same thing you did. I just jumped in, and it was a sink or swim type stuff, but it's still to this day a very, very interesting topic for a lot of people, and OSINT especially, because every time there's a digital transaction, we have another piece or another data point to go through and pivot off of, to go through. And even if you want to go through and say, 10 years from now, investigate something like a Bitcoin address or Monero or something else like that, however, like these things will be imprinted for as long as the ledgers are available, which is amazing. So we really have a lot of historical stuff to go back to and say, this is where you were, what you did, and how you did it. And I think that's awesome. So
yeah, and still I still have the feeling that cryptocurrencies in general are still a little bit of a dark spot within the OSINT field for the vast majority of OSINT researchers.
Sure.
But Brenna, what's your opinion on, we are talking about cryptos always as in a currency almost, but isn't the new crypto technology, isn't that also something that's really important to the open source intelligence field, looking for decentralized cryptographic chat apps, for instance? Or what's your opinion on that?
Sorry, I don't think I understand the question.
No, well, no, it wasn't actually a question. It was more like, what's your vision on the OSINT landscape looking from a crypto perspective? Because it isn't always necessary to have, let's say, a currency, but you can also use the technology for...
Okay. So like Steemit, that's the social media platform that's built on a decentralized network. They have their own YouTube that's built that way. There's a ton of different applications that are built either through the Ethereum network or I forget what the other one is, but yeah, there's a ton that's hosted that way. And the ability to not cache the information and stuff, that's crazy. But yeah, what are your thoughts? Sorry.
No. My thoughts on that are slightly skeptical, and I'm still learning more about it, but often, so like I recently investigated an application called BCM because communication matters. So it says that it's like a blockchain platform, and it was when Telegram did the huge like terrorist cleanse, and extremists were kind of scrambling to find like a new home online. It was like a candidate. I don't think it since has been something that, from what I can tell and what a lot of other very smart researchers who follow this can tell, they haven't been following it as much for a lot of different reasons, just on the functionality of the app. But at first, people were really excited about it because it says that it's built on blockchain technology and that it, has all these encryption settings that you like can't really see messages. It's impossible to hack, blah, blah, blah. But the interesting thing is that I don't have like a cryptography background. So I can only take so much. I have to take a lot of people's claims technologically for face value, but then I had a lot of software engineers in the cryptocurrency space reaching out to me being like, I highly doubt that everything that they're saying in this application is possible. Like that they could just do that technologically. Like most of it hasn't been developed yet, or that the way that they say they're doing it isn't the way that you would actually go about doing it. And that's just background that I don't have. I am working on it and I hope I have it, but it's, you kind of have to study cryptography for years and encryption with like a crossover with software engineering to really understand what's possible to be built with the technology. So in that vein, whenever I see new and sparkly applications come up, a big thing now, especially in marketing, is that people will just tack on blockchain on it, but it actually is not run on a blockchain. It's not affiliated with that technology. And a lot of the stuff that they're just kind of capitalizing on, like the hype around the word,
Sure.
Because a lot of the same things that products try to achieve, you could just do with a, advanced SQL database and stuff like that. Like you don't need blockchain technology for it. And so that's something that also is just kind of going back to how scams can be kind of rampant in this community of trying to suss out who the real people are, who what's real, what's fake. And it can be hard, like, because of course you can't just like, you can, but when you reach out to the people at the company and stuff like that, they're gonna be like, oh yeah, super legit. Like, yep. that's what we do.
Definitely not a Ponzi scheme. We got you. Okay. All right.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yep. I got you. That's cool. It is an interesting space, and I obviously I think a lot of our viewers and everyone else in the OSINT community is looking forward to where it goes, because it's another platform that we can derive information from and watch people move to. It's just like the deep nets and the dark nets and stuff like that, wherever it's a different technology to go through and pass information or go through and be anonymous if that's the thing, right. And do that stuff. So yeah, it's awesome. I did want to go ahead, Dutch. Sorry.
No. I just wanted to say, for people who are interested in what she has done until now, Brenna, we will put a link in the show notes to all her previous newsletters.
Yep, that's what I was gonna. I put up the CryptoSint. So I really like that you have the archive of everything here. So that's awesome for people that have the ability to catch up or want to get into this stuff. So
I'm going to be honest. I did not know this existed. This archive.
But this is where we come in. We do OSINT. We find things.
We'll send you a link to your own stuff. Don't worry.
Okay. Thank you.
No worries. But yeah. So yeah, anyone who's interested, Bellingcat, obviously she has. Brenna has a page on there that goes back into her stuff and gives their email address and Twitter account. For shame, shouldn't do that. No. And then the crypto mailing list. We'll have it in the show notes, and we'll send all that stuff out. But that's a really good place for a lot of people to go through and to start, if they're interested in regards to a lot of this stuff. So that's fun. So you really have only been kind of producing this since October, or is that just as far as it's been archived?
No. Yeah, okay. I just started in October. Yeah.
Cool. That's awesome.
Yeah, and you're on fire with it, because I'm always highly awaiting the new newsletter, just because, I get to learn new stuff about crypto. So
Yep.
Oh,
awesome.
thank you.
Yeah. So one question which I ask all our guests is, what would you like to learn OSINT-wise or get better at?
The whole coding aspect. I mean, I think that like if we look at stuff that like Justin Seitz does or Benjamin Strick and stuff like that, the crossover between understanding how to automate and visualize different aspects of data points that we research is just, it can take your investigation to the next level. Yeah, so I want to get better at that.
Yeah, awesome.
So just
Yeah,
automation and all that in general kind of thing.
Well, I guess automation is like one aspect of it, but it's more like a lot of what I do, for example, when I'm doing blockchain investigations is focusing on like one specific data point, and then I have to manually go in and like add them all together versus being able to look. I feel like coding gives you an opportunity to kind of zoom out and look at a bigger picture of things easier, where I have to spend like hours building the data set on my own to do that. Sure. Which there's some value to that because you get to really know what you're working with. But I just think too, like, there's so many great open source tools happening in the world, or like that are being built like on GitHub and stuff like that. And it's hard when you see it and you're like, oh, I can't take advantage of this right now because I don't know how to do it. Yeah, so that's what I'd like to learn more about.
Well, get you something to do with your spare time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Spare time.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Neil, from the audience, from the attendants, would like to know if what, if any, is the safest wallet? And I don't know if you have a specific. I know that there are digital wallets, which are sometimes okay, whatever, but sometimes they kind of are crashed. There's the token wallets, the Trezors, whatever, who are okay sometimes. They're getting better, I think. But is there something that you found that's pretty safe, reliable, and good, easy to use?
Yes. So something that I personally am not like a big crypto investor. I've, bought some to see how it moves in the exchange just based on my research, but sure. I am not necessarily the best to ask about digital hygiene practices. Well, I have a vague idea of it, but I don't practice it because I think I own like $25 worth of cryptocurrencies in total. Like somebody hacked that and got it. Like, okay, that's fine.
Sure, you will lose it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But I do know that you definitely would not want to be keeping all of your money in an exchange online where it's like connected to the internet. That's called a hot wallet. Yep. Instead, you would want to keep it offline in a cold wallet. There's a lot of great applications that I know people who use. None are coming to mind only because it's something that I don't pay specific attention to, but I could, if you give me your email or Twitter, I could look that up quickly and send it over your way. I think the biggest one that I would just be careful about not looking at cold wallets that are like the ones that people are using to like advertise on crypto websites a lot and that like kind of are necessarily really hyped up. I would look to see, even on like chat forums and stuff like that, what the general consensus is of people who really heavily trade and invest in what they use.
Yeah, I still know people that swear by paper wallets. That
yeah.
will print it out or whatever and stick it in a book and say, I've got, my 2 Bitcoins and yeah.
And that's where, I think it's just because paper wallets aren't the most user friendly. Like there's not like a super easy way to do that yet.
Yep.
It's super
it's
interesting.
better with QR codes and stuff like that, but even that is kind of hackable. So it's it's all kind of screwy. I don't know. What coin do you hold? What did you buy? Or can you say?
A Bitcoin. That's about it. I haven't really bought any more since. I think because now there's a lot of like YouTube tutorials where you can see like people like doing like, oh, how to purchase like Ethereum or Monero and stuff like that. And then I'll just go and look up their transactions instead. Yep. I think just because I write about it a lot and I'm not interested in it in like a finance perspective of like, I'm not looking to make a ton of money from investing in crypto. And just because I am, critique the space in it, I feel like there could be like a conflict of interest in heavily investing.
Yeah, that makes total sense. Like that. Yeah. That's awesome. Okay, cool. That is awesome. All right. Any last thoughts? Anything that you would like to promote, or anything else that you want to get off your chest here?
No, I just want to thank her for her time until now. Yeah. And please stay on and maybe participate in any questions or news we are going to discuss.
We do have a question towards the middle of the end, however, that was posed on Twitter, and I would definitely like to get your feedback on that as well. One last question before we move is from the attendance here. Who does she think will be the first country to have a digital currency? China? I don't know. I know they're rolling out their stuff. I know Russia was rolling out their stuff. There's already not Tender. There's another one that's U.S. based, whatever, but it's not backed by the Fed or anything. But
Tether, yeah. I mean, there's actually a lot of USD stable coins out there, and none of them are backed by any sort of government agency. But China's making a lot of noise about it, and they keep on saying we're working really hard. It's coming out soon, and kind of breadcrumbing it along the way. But and actually, the first country that did release a digital currency is Venezuela. And like a year and a half ago, they released the Petro. Right. Yeah, I mean, it's like debatable if it's actually a cryptocurrency, and it was like definitely a shit show with the launch, and like nobody really uses it. And Maduro's trying to like force people to use it in really problematic ways.
Petro or something?
Yeah, it's called Petro. Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty awful. It's definitely not. I mean, it was the first, but it's definitely not a good vote of confidence for nation states utilizing cryptocurrency.
Sure. And it was forked on something. I think it was a Litecoin fork or something. I don't remember what it was.
Okay. They kept on changing. Like at first it was Ethereum, then it was Litecoin, then they were like being like, oh, it's like a hybrid. It's a totally new thing that we built. And they just like, they had 3 different white papers, 3 different versions of the website. It was like a proof of stake
thing at first or whatever, and then it was proof of work, and then it's like, what the? No, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
It was crazy. Okay, all right, I could go on, sorry. And Libra from Facebook, do you think that has legs on it or anything? Has anybody been talking about it? I've heard it's kind of dead, but I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's pretty, I mean, for David Marcus's sake, the poor guy is really been trying to get that off the ground. Like, I think it could be interesting. I don't think the world is going to be horribly worse off if Libra launches, depending on how they handle it. I also am not too worried about it because I don't necessarily think that they're going to have great mass adoption.
Yeah, it's really difficult to go through and say a corporation owns the digital currency that you now delve in, and that they're going to go. I mean, it's kind of tough. I don't know.
Yeah,
like I doubt PayPal and a couple other people for the backers and stuff. It's just
like it doesn't look good. Things don't look good for it launching. So I don't want to say 100% that it's not going to, but it's not looking good.
Okay, sorry, I keep going off on topics. All right.
No, it's okay.
Let's see here. We have some news, and thank you for all the questions for everyone in the audience, all the attendees. Like I said, we have all the information that we'll be posting in regards to the newsletters, where you can find more information about her, all this stuff. So if you guys have further things, follow her on Twitter and continue to make her feel welcome and stuff, because that's what OSINT does.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get into some stuff. So first, we have to announce that we have a new member of the OSINT Curious team here.
Yeah, and what kind of member?
So Technazette, you may have noticed that she's not been on the podcast for a while or doing stuff. She was pregnant, and she had her I don't know. We don't really want to release anything or whatever. So she had a child. There you go.
They named it OSINT Curious.
Yep. Got the TM at the end.
Hashtag, yeah. No, congratulations, Technazette.
Absolutely, yeah. And we're glad that she's healthy and everyone's healthy. And so we're looking forward to integrating the new child into the program somehow. We'll see how that works. All right, so shout out to Technazette and all that here. We did want to go through and cover Micah, Web Breacher, and Ritu, who is the OSINT Techniques. She's amazing. Also, I had the pleasure of meeting her, but her and Micah did a collaboration for kind of the introduction to OSINT, and they put out a video there. It's already got like 1,300 views, which is awesome. And it is really kind of a ground level how to get into this. If you know nothing about open source intelligence, what are some quick and dirty ways to go through and try to get this stuff off the ground and working for, for everything. But I think this is also kind of geared towards the Trace Labs, missing persons CTF. Sans did a couple of them with them. I know that we've had the guys on here for OSINT Curious. We've had Robert and Adrian and Blackbeardsec, I forget his, James. So we've had them on there, and so we like to continue to push them forward because they are an organization that does OSINT for good. We really enjoy the stuff that they have been doing, and so Micah and Ritu had an opportunity to go through and make this video, and it kind of turned out really well. Has anybody else looked at it? Or?
I think it's just good for people. Every now and then they reach out and say, give me the 101 to start with searching. Well, if you watch this video, basically you have this practical tool set which you can use to maybe help out on February 2nd on the new Trace Labs Global CTF Day. But just it gets you started. And I think this video answers that question that people always have been asking. What do I need to get started? Well, and my answer would now be this video, right? Yeah,
this is definitely a good starting point. Because there are so many people that come out and say, hey, what tool? Should I start running Maltego? What's going on with this? And, this gives you a good baseline of...
exactly, the baseline. That's the word I was looking for.
A good baseline of actionable things that you can kind of go through and say, okay, I have this person's name, I have where they are and their age. What can I pivot off from that and kind of go from there? So it's very, very well done. It's very nice production-wise and stuff. So they did an amazing job. So shout out to them. Okay, let's see here. Okay, so next, I don't know if anybody else kind of went into this with the Chameleon attack.
Yeah, well, Laurent Bodo posted a tweet about, and he says it's a super interesting paper. Well, I speed read it a little bit. It's about they call it a Chameleon attack, and it's a way to manipulate posts on social media most of the time. To spread disinformation or misinformation. And they have a demo on it. And if you click the demo link, the Facebook link, you will see a Facebook post with a video from Biden. And, well, you need to click the link and it will play, and you need it to play for at least 20 seconds. And then you need to refresh the page, which you're looking at now. And then you will see that a whole other piece of content will be shown and not the Biden video anymore. So
it looks like it flips to a Trump Trump video for what I did. We can try to do it here actually.
Which I found really interesting because this is live on Facebook, this demo. So it means that the trick still works, and people can set you in the wrong foot, right? They will point you towards a video that you need to look at for a certain amount of time. You go back, you click on it, and then you're like, hey, what did I just watch?
Right.
Didn't I look at the Biden video? And you can manipulate people maybe by getting thumbs up or thumbs down on certain movies.
Or sending it to people as well and propagating it through that stuff, whatever. So, and then, it's kind of a duality thing where you're sending somebody who may be leaning left or whatever, and it's a Biden thing, and they get a Trump thing, and then same thing other way around. So it could cause, some hurt feelings and some other stuff in there. So we run the video for 20 seconds. It's on Biden here. We'll go back to the Facebook, and we're going to refresh the Chameleon attack page, and it does. It does go to
now you have
Trump. Yep.
Yeah. It leads you to another YouTube video with President Trump in it. So interesting. So if people want to know more detail about it, we got a link in the show notes to the tweet from Laurent, and it will point you towards the research paper as well as the demo page from Facebook.
Yeah, I think that's from
really
Cornell
interesting.
Here. Yeah, Cornell. So Brenna, have you because I know you work in some form of disinformation, stuff like that. Have you seen attacks like this before, or is this kind of a new area, or do you know anything about this?
So I haven't seen it like this. This is pretty sophisticated. What I have seen before is that people would post like pro-Biden, or not pro-Biden, but like a one pro-candidate ad or stuff like that, and then you click on it and it's like linked to video for another candidate or a smear campaign and stuff like that, which is a much less sophisticated version of this. No, this is fascinating.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, in a bad way. Like,
yes, yeah.
Not necessarily happy that it's out there, but it
is funny because social networks were so much of a kind of a pivotal thing in like 2016 elections and stuff like that. It's interesting to see them morphing from just paid advertisements that are geared towards certain demographics and stuff like that,
right,
to actually seeing the actual code kind of change in regards to what's being displayed for you or sent around. So it is getting more sophisticated. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah, and so this is why I always advocate for looking at the same piece of evidence you found and try to find it on another platform or at least one other source than the source that you initially found it on, just to validate. Yeah. Hoping that the same Chameleon trick isn't being exploited on the other platform as well. But
yeah. No, I think that's something in open source intelligence that we definitely go through and strive for is verification, making sure that it's a valid source and that we can go through and replicate it. And so it's not just a one-off type thing, just because there are so many random attacks that could be happening from, anywhere, inside, outside the organizations, whatever. So you really have to have fidelity, some mark of score that verifies it. So yeah. All right, I agree. All right, let's see. So enough with Biden and Trump. Okay, so next we had Nemec's blog, discovering the IP range of WordPress sites hidden by Cloudflare. I don't know if anybody.
Yeah, well, I'm basically put up two links. It's the Nemec one and the Nix Intel one, because what I found interesting, they both used WordPress as a target to use OSINT on, and the Nemec one is about discovering the IP address that's actually behind the WordPress site. That's hidden behind the Cloudflare. So he blogs about the technique how to uncover the actual IP address. And in addition to that, you have Nick's his blog, and he goes even further, and he will walk you through steps you can take to find out who actually owns the WordPress blog or who's related or connected to the blog. So then you can combine maybe Nemec's IP address and do some pivoting on that, and do the WP scan and stuff, and combine those and come to a conclusion that, well, maybe John Doe owns this mysterious WordPress website.
Yeah.
So I found it really interesting.
Yeah, no, and there's been a ton of work lately in the last year to go through and do a lot of the actual verification of IP4, ranges or whatever for, websites and stuff like that. Where I know that in the other blog post they talked about Francisco's Fave Up, so monitoring the favicon and discovering that, and I know that. David Westcott's been doing some stuff to go through and to identify favicons, whatever, and actually attributing them to the owners and stuff like that, or at least the organizations. But yeah, Next Intel's blog is really cool, and I've not played with WP Scan, but it's definitely something that I want to get a little bit more. But I have played with Built With and some of the other sites that he talks about in here. Also, he throws some Ruby code in there, which is nice because we're always trying to expand what we can do on the command line. So it's always nice to have some more tools and even different languages and stuff. So and he doxed us. Look at that. We are OSINT curious. It's okay.
Yeah, he found out. He found out about us.
We were such a good secret.
And the cool thing is, WP Scan is pretty well known when you look at the world of ethical hackers or red teamers, security assessment and all that. It's been around for quite some time, so it's really nice if you just use it just solely to look at the authors of a WordPress site, which we can use in the OSINT world again. So that's really cool. Yeah. But I was really impressed too by Dean Nemec's blog. Just plain simple. Just use the pingback function of WordPress to uncover an IP address. It's so logical. It's just it's awesome.
And WordPress is like, I mean, at least they tout, I think it's like 35 or 40% of the internet right now.
Something like that. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, and the trend is not going away. So it is definitely a marketable skill that, you know, if you can go through and do this type of research on stuff that covers 1/3 of the internet, then this is big stuff.
Yep.
Cool. All right. Let's see here. Where are we going now? All right. Back to Twitter. Dutch, did you put this one up?
Yep. This was initially, I found it through Capteurs Overs, which is a French open source intelligence account. They are also part of OpenVacto, and they pointed me towards this. And this is for me two-parted. I can try and read French once in a while again. So I figured out this was, they built a Chrome tool which you can install using the Chrome developer mode. Which the description I will put up in the show notes, and I'll put a link to the GitHub page. What it does, it will help you find the original video which was first posted on Twitter. So for instance, I post a video now that gets viral and 10,000s of people will share it or retweet it, and you need to know who posted it first on Twitter. This extension will help you with that. So for cases like the spreading of misinformation or propaganda or that kind of stuff, this could be, and I tried it and it works perfectly fine. So but the only thing is the thread is in French, but when you push the translate button, it works perfectly fine, so it will get you there. And the GitHub page is fairly straightforward. You just download the information from the GitHub as a zip. You unzip it as a folder and you open it as an unpacked extension within your Chrome extensions.
Oh,
so,
cool. Okay.
And I will put a short description about how to do that in the show notes for those who don't know how to do it. It's
that would be awesome.
But I just found it a really interesting add-on for your browser for certain research cases.
Another tool for the toolkit. You could definitely use something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, and it saves you another URL, because there are several sites that just Google for first tweet or tweet it first. You can also use that for keywords and all that. You can also add video links or stuff like that sometimes. But yeah, sometimes it's a lot easier if you just have a Chrome extension for that.
Yeah. Agreed. Okay, nice. The chat was going crazy and I couldn't get to it, so sorry. Okay. All right. Let's see here. What is next? So yeah, we have the GitHub up there, and Dutch will go through and put all that stuff. So yeah, not a problem. Okay. So Micah, web breacher, some guy we've never even heard of, put a question on Twitter, and wanted some feedback. And I think this is a valid question, and it kind of goes in and out of phase with what OSINT kind of is considered. Is it passive? Is it more of the recon stuff where you're actively going through and pulling stuff? So, serious question from the OSINT community. Coming from a pen tester background, I usually consider OSINT as a passive, light to no target interaction activity. But with certain active measures, API access, visiting websites, username enumeration are still OSINT, as the data is open and we are just using more active measures to obtain it. Where are you/your organization drawing this is OSINT and this is too active for your org line? So I'll throw it out to Brenna. This is one of the things we wanted to interact. I don't know if you have a clear defined, what is OSINT, what is recon, when is it not considered open source intelligence and it's actually considered something else like active penetration or something else like that. So interacting with people or whatever, would you say
no, sorry. Yeah, I understand the question. It's just more, I don't think about it a lot, I guess, from an ethical standpoint, which is also embarrassing having come from the Human Rights Center. But yeah, Alexa would be like,
come on. No, just
kidding. I know. Alexa would be like finger wagging me right now.
That's funny.
I think it's hard, and I think it depends, because when you're going after somebody who's a well-known bad guy, and you're figuring out all this information out about them and doing technically open source stuff that's like a little hackery, I don't feel bad about it. I don't have an issue with it.
Sure.
But then it gets weird when you have a target and the way that you're getting more information about their target is like going through like a relative or like a business associate and somebody who like might be completely innocent in it. And I always get like a little weird in my stomach where I'm kind of like, I think it's hard. I think I think a lot of it is potentially okay as long as you don't like publicly post information or like dox anyone or, like, I think you just need to realize that the information you have is powerful and very important to use wisely and not just kind of look at it flippantly and remember that often targets are people too and the people around them are people too. And so sometimes I think that I, can do this too, where I get so excited because I think of people I'm investigating as like data points and like a puzzle to solve.
Sure.
So yeah. I don't know if that answers the question, but
it does to a point. And you bring up an excellent point, especially with the power of what open source intelligence can go through and pull in, and then also either using second or third degree associations. But then what happens if you get it wrong? You're targeting the wrong person with the same name or something. So the verification stuff that like Dutch and I were talking about earlier kind of comes back to that flat line. You don't go beyond that point because you want to make sure that what you're actually producing is verified. But Sector, Dutch, what do you guys think?
Well, don't forget there's the O is just for open, but the INT, that's I think the most important part. You're trying to make actionable intelligence. So you're gathering a lot of pieces of the puzzle, and some pieces just won't fit in the puzzle, but you needed to have a look at them to come to completing your puzzle to answer your question. So sometimes you need to take steps or be in environments or spaces online which need you to be not only passive but also active. But is that then still open source intelligence? I don't know. It depends on the use case, I guess. But in general, open source intelligence is using information that's open for each and every person everywhere out there, which you can use to make an actionable decision about a research question. So, yeah.
That's an excellent point. Yeah, really. Sector, what do you got?
Yeah, I do think there are some gray areas when something is public because of an actual error. Like a software bug. Yeah,
Sure.
Things change. I've had that issue. We talked about it on our private channels. It still isn't fixed. But yeah, I could say that I can use certain pieces of information as OSINT, but it's actually a closed down forum on a really huge website. They still haven't closed it though. But
right.
Yeah, I can read everything. It's invitation only. So there is this little gray area that you have to look at software bugs. Okay, it's not OSINT. But if there are things that can be found by everyone by simply searching, changing a URL, maybe look in the source code, or even use a third-party API that does all the work for you, but publish it, and you can actually verify the information. That's the key part of it, of course. Then, yeah, why not use it to enrich your intelligence or your information that you have? Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I agree. I think it gets odd when it's Amazon buckets or GitHub, and they've hard-coded API keys and stuff like that. So it's not as intended a open source thing. It was an oopsie or something else like that. I still think that's. I still think we have every right to go through and utilize that in investigation or in scanning stuff because it is open. It's not locked by anything, and because you did it as a mistake, I totally understand that. But that's not something that should be forgiven in a lot of areas, just because the only way people learn is through mistakes. So if that happens, whatever, and we can point that out and say, this is what happened, then I think it makes us a stronger and maybe a little bit safer community in the long run. But
exactly where the intelligence comes in. You make it actionable by responsible disclosing it, right?
100%. Yeah, remediation steps and things like that. If it's private, and you're doing it for somebody, or if just reaching out and just saying, hey guys, I know that on Twitter there's a lot of people that do they look for C2s and phishing campaigns and things like that, and that's the first thing they do is as soon as they are able to identify it, they 100% disclose it, and they do it in a responsible way through DMs or through active channels and stuff like that. That they talk to people who matter to go through and get the issue resolved. So yeah, it's good. Okay, so I don't know, the chat's going crazy too. It's a big topic. I don't think we've ever had a let's come to an ethics kind of question about open source intelligence, and I think a lot of people want to stray away from it because once we rigidly define how that is, then people will start pointing fingers at other people and saying, well, you're not doing it this way. I don't think that we need to go through and have it, but I definitely think that the organizations or the groups that people are in should at least take a step back and question what they want to do it. Maybe not a hard and fast line, but just where do they draw conclusions?
Yeah. I also think. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, there, Sector.
Sorry. Also, don't forget that when you look at certain techniques and certain places that you can get your information from, it totally depends on the use case, because your ethics can be very flexible.
Yep. Also, the
more severe your target is, like let's say you're looking at a terrorist or someone that murdered a person, you can stretch a lot of things that you can do legally.
But isn't this in my opinion, this discussion isn't about open source intelligence. I think there's two worlds. There's open source intelligence and there's online investigative research. And in online investigative research uses most of the time initially open source intelligence to pivot off on. And then you need subpoenas or prosecutions to say, well, you can go that one step further, which isn't open source intelligence anymore. But you started with conducting open source intelligence, or maybe you got some human intelligence, which made you go toward. And that's where people, well, that's just my opinion. I think there's two worlds.
I don't know, because if it's a private organization or a private industry and not associated with law enforcement who's still doing an investigation, they may have a little bit more looser rules in regards to certain things, whatever. Plus, they don't have the opportunity to go through and subpoena or get verified information. So it's both ways. But you're right. Open source intelligence and investigations kind of do have to divide themselves, because once it becomes an investigation, you're not just using the tools. You're actually trying to go through and put, something to legislation or something to, an actual person's criminal investigation or something. Then it becomes a little bit different of a matter. So, I don't know. Just our opinion. Don't quote us. And if you do, spell our names right. Let's see. Okay, so that's Micah's tweet. SpiderFoot 3.0 is coming out. Major changes. It's running on Python 3 now. Target by usernames, which I think SpiderFoot HX has been able to go through and do for a little while. And then running skins by command line interface or the web interface like it did originally. So this is back to the original GitHub open source project stuff. This isn't the SpiderFoot HX, so this is exciting stuff to see that not only is he continuing to develop the cloud-based version, the SpiderFoot HX, but he's still keeping, Steven's still keeping the original project going and updating as it goes along. And it's still a tool that I use every day. It's amazing. I don't know if anybody else has the same love for SpiderFoot that I do. But
I got a lot of love for SpiderFoot, so I'm really happy to see version 3.0 is out. So people just go check it out.
Yeah, it's awesome. Really cool stuff. Okay. And we're kind of running up against time, so I apologize that I keep talking. Okay. Before we get to this TraceLabs stuff, I did want to go through and say, excuse me, which TraceLabs is amazing, and we'll get to here in a second. We did have some stuff from our listeners that I wanted to go through and talk about. We did have someone who wrote in and said, hi, OSINT Curious Team. I come from a non-technical background and switched careers a few months back to doing bug bounty hunting. I have also recently picked up a very keen interest for OSINT and am just starting out reading and catching up with whatever resources and books I can get with regards to OSINT. I have a great interest for OSINT, privacy, and security, and I would like to make a career out of this apart from doing bug bounty hunting. Any advice for a newbie like me? I'm very serious. I very seriously, I can't talk, wanted to make a career out of OSINT, but I am in a dilemma as to possibilities that there could be out there. Any internships or research assistant related jobs that I could do and learn on the run as well for work? I think we get this question kind of a lot. So basically, a lot of people are looking for specific OSINT work. Everybody wants to work at Bellingcat, and Dutch isn't going to leave. So where else?
Well, I just did, but that's another discussion.
Oh no. So just I know that there's a lot of technical people in this organization for OSINT Curious and stuff who comes from either military backgrounds or from red teaming or pen testing, other things like that. So if someone comes to you and says, hey, I want to get a job in open source intelligence, where do I start? What's the best answer we can go through and give them? And then we just point them to this episode.
I would say at this moment in time, when you are in, let's say, European-based areas, I think almost each and every government, city hall, tax authority is looking for open source intelligence people. I don't know how about that in the United States, but looking at job openings in the States, I see a similar thing. So, but they also ask a lot of times for interns for short-term, longer-term, paid, unpaid internships. So that would be my first guess. Try and go to like this governmental-ish jobs. Yeah.
I'm just from the U.S. angle only because I was doing this like just a couple months ago, graduating and trying to find a job in OSINT and stuff like that. There's a lot of private research firms in the States that hire analysts who a lot of the research like has a lot of crossover with OSINT. If that's something you're interested in. Internship wise, it's harder. There's just not a lot of internships doing this stuff. So if you're at a big university, there's a lot of like really interesting research being done in universities around this. So if you would want to, I mean, you probably won't get paid, but you could go and I know, like, and that's just like what sucks so much is like, but thinking of like from a college student angle, if you're already like taking classes and stuff somewhere, and then there's a grad student or professor who's doing similar open source research, like why not go try to work with them and learn from them? Yeah. There's also, I think, a lot of opportunities in journalism actually to do interesting open source stuff. There are people I feel like there are internships that I know of that they're looking for specifically research interns and stuff like that, and that's mostly open source as well. So it's out there, but it is hard, and it's still like there's no good way to get this experience. It's like a really
yeah. So and that's kind of where I was going to go. It's tough because a lot of the jobs that we want aren't called OSINT analysts. They're business intelligence or they're research, right, and there are other things. So the way that I have procured a job in open source intelligence and the way that I would tell people is that you really have to go through and be kind of scraping a lot of the news sites and stuff like that to go through and see where open source intelligence is going. BAE just got a huge contract with the United States the Army to go through and do all their external OSINTs. So BAE may be a place that you want to go through and look if you're okay with doing military style open source intelligence. Kirby brings up an excellent point that Ernst & Young, I mean, there's a ton of people doing research, whatever. It may not be called open source intelligence, but from Ernst & Young all the way to Walmart, there are divisions inside either their pen testing, red team, blue ops, stuff like that do need the vulnerability scans and do need social media. I know AMC hires for brand awareness. I've got a very good friend out in Kansas City and that's kind of what she does is she monitors the brand for AMC, and if there's something because of potential shootings or if there's a weird video that has an employee with a shirt on, they have to go through and find that and make sure they can get that taken down. There's a lot of facets of the open source intelligence stuff that can be used. But the networking through like Twitter and through conferences or through channels like this, there's something that you can get through that way. Also, like just keeping your head kind of looking for stuff all around, it does help. But you have to go through and be active in regards to a lot of that stuff, because it's not something where, you know, they will go through and they will look for you to go through and do that stuff. I will mention that OSINT.team has a jobs board up there. If you're not on OSINT.team, you really should. It is a specific forum for OSINT like-minded people, and there are jobs that are posted there. Some are contracts, some are full-time gigs. There was a human rights job, I think, a while back for New York or something that was posted on there.
Actually, sorry, not to interrupt, but also like Amnesty International, Human Rights Watch, like they all have great things.
Yeah.
I actually have to run soon, but I did want to just say one thing about it too, that if you're trying to get a job in OSINT, but like you don't know where to start, a great way is to like publish blog posts. It's probably going to get traction in the OSINT community just because of how people are, but also because I had no idea how to go about jobs, and any of the job opportunities and contracts I did after was because people had found like my articles and stuff online. So that's my biggest advice to anybody looking for jobs is like write a blog post, like get it out there to show your skills, and like people will eventually come.
Volunteering and all that stuff is very well. But thank you so much, Brenna, for coming on, and we know you got to run. We'll finish up the rest of the stuff, but it was awesome talking to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. I had a great time.
Oh, come back.
Please come back. Yeah.
Oh yeah, please, whenever. Just let me know.
All right, 2 weeks. We'll see you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, yeah, that was the other thing is one of the ways I actually got the job that I did was just from showing them the amount of work that I put into the OSINT community and stuff, and that carried a lot of it, because I'm dumb as a box of rocks, but at least I'm willing to do the work, you know. So
yeah. So I see in the chat there's also EFF and lawyers and due diligence jobs. So there's the sky's the limit basically.
Yeah. We just have to look outside of the actual verbiage. So yeah, I mean, OSINT is whatever we can go through and do to find open intelligence, you know, so don't pigeonhole yourself to go through and be an OSINT analyst. You know, if there's something out there and the company that you are applying for is an interesting position, like look at it and see what you can do from inside the organization too. So the other thing here is we did have somebody on Twitter, Chai at The Operator, wanted to know if we'd ever consider doing a dark web OSINT or staying safe 101, pointing out resources that matter and, you know, points for using this in conjunction to Trace Labs Missing Person CTF. Have we talked about doing dark web, deep web 101 type stuff? I mean, I'm sure we could do a 10-minute tip or something on it, or a series on there.
We have discussed it. There are a lot of things in the pipeline, I guess. So nice. I just would say stay tuned. We probably will. But
there you go.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, and I know we're running long, so we'll get to the rest of the stuff. So back to Trace Labs. Obviously, the Trace Labs third CTF, or excuse me, the global CTF, OSINT Missing Persons, is coming up here pretty quick. Dutch, I think you said it was on the 2nd. I thought it was on the 3rd.
Yeah, first. I think it was the 1st of February.
I think it is the 3rd. I don't think they want to compete in the Super Bowl. I'm just kidding.
Somewhere this year they will have it. No.
There you go. Blank statement. Do you guys foresee yourselves getting involved with this year? I know Sector you did last time, and
I'm trying to.
Yeah. I'm going to be out. I'm not going to be able to do it. I would love to. I really enjoy doing that, but I will be gone. So Dutch, have you joined?
Yeah, I'm trying. Well, I'm trying. I'm going to participate in this particular upcoming event. Yeah,
nice.
And probably in the future again. But this one I've got planned already in my agenda.
Cool. Well, I know, and this is not more plugs for OSINT.team, but I know that there are a bunch of people on OSINT.team that are looking for partners. So if you want to group up, you can get up to a group of 4 to go through and participate in the Trace Labs organization, or the CTFs there. So if anybody has, you know, room on a team or wants to go through and do it, but you don't want to do it solo, like definitely go on there, jump in the general, and post up there, and then we'll try to get people matched up. And there's a pretty good video from Trace Labs as well that does show you how to go through and register, get onto the platform, all that stuff. And they're pretty good at troubleshooting as well. just be kind to the judges because they're people too. Let's see. So after Trace Labs, we want to go through and just get into maybe some of the plugs, wrap this stuff up, give people back the rest of their Sunday. So let's see. I think we have the Open Source Intelligence Summit coming up in February as well, OSINT Summit 2020. Dutch, I think you're going to be out there talking and stuff too?
Yeah, I'm going to do a talk there. I think Kirby's going to be there, Mika, and a whole lot of other bunch of people who are in the Twitter sphere. So yeah, be sure to check it out if you're able to.
Yeah, no, it should be a good time. I think there's
looking really forward to meeting all the people over in the States.
It was a good time last year, so I think it just continue to go through and be a good time this year.
Yeah.
And rolling on to more stuff that involves Dutch OSINT Guy. I know that there was a recent Recorded Future podcast you did.
Yeah, last week came out. Well, they did a short podcast series with me, an episode. It was recorded last year, and now they posted it online. We talked about OSINT and threat intelligence, and well, I really enjoy talking to Dave Bittner because I'm kind of a fanboy. I listened to his voice for over years commuting, so for me it was an honor to be on the Recorded Future podcast. So
that's awesome.
Yeah,
and I know Mike has done an episode with him as well. So yeah, it's a really good organization. I really like Recorded Future. So yeah, it's cool stuff. Let's see here. I think that's pretty much about it. This is the gentleman that Brenna Smith was talking about. If you want to go through and follow him at Sign Curve, which I've already done. So it's, more tools for the tool belt. Any other shout outs? Anything you guys are doing in the next 2 weeks that you guys want to promote? Sector, you doing anything fun?
I'm doing lots of fun things. Nothing particular at this moment. I'm doing some extra research, but yeah, not sure where that's leading. But it's along the lines of pivoting from Google IDs. Oh,
very cool. Yeah, that is exciting stuff. I've been recently playing with a lot of the UA codes and stuff like that. So that's there was I don't know. We'll get into it offline. So that's fun stuff. Dutch, what do you got?
Nothing much. I got some closed conferences coming up, and so people can check me out there. I always bring OSINT Curious stickers, so if you see me, hit me up, and I'll hand them out to you. And we'll see you in a week or two, I guess.
There you go. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And I know about you? Kirby is silent. We want to say get well soon, Kirby, for all that stuff. I really don't have a whole lot more going on. Check if you're in the Kansas City area, we're going to be doing an open source intelligence kind of meetup thing here on Thursday. So if you're interested in open source intelligence in the Kansas City area and you want to come out, watch the Twitters, and we'll show you where all that stuff's going to be. I think that's about it. Anybody else have any other last minute things?
Nope.
Good. Thank you all to the participants, the attendants.
Thank you all attendees.
Yeah. And all the awesome questions.
Yeah.
The questions, the sponsors, the attendants, everybody. Thank you so much for keeping this thing alive. We really appreciate it, and we enjoy it. So if you have any other questions, or if you want to be OSINT curious, keep following us, and we'll just keep going from there.
Yeah. Stay OSINT curious. Bye, everybody.
All right, guys. Thank you.